There's one thing that makes the world go round. A crispy Winston, a fresh Benjamin. It's about currency. And today, we're going to get a glimpse into one of the biggest revenue-generating live services on planet Earth. In a way, it should be a familiar story, because it goes like this. Company gets hacked. Company gets sent ransom demands. Company refuses to pay ransom. Hackers release confidential information. And then company stock goes up by $1 billion in response. Turns out the information was pretty damn good. It is real interesting because the data the hackers released just made Rockstar look even more impressive to investors. And the reason why is that those hackers showed the world why every company is willing to gamble on a live service game. If you've been wondering, why has the entire games industry just poured, probably billions at this point, into more and more live services? And if you think about that while looking at, say, Resident Evil 4 Remake or Resident Evil Requiem, you're like, man, look at Capcom over there, just making really good games for a good price that people are happy to buy. Why is everyone doing the live service bullshit? Well, the good news is, you're about to find out. And to tease you, well, just imagine you're a business executive and you see the chance to make $10 million a week off of a 13-year-old game. To begin today's story proper then, we gotta admit the obvious. Rockstar has had a bad time with hackers. You see, back in 2022, a massive breach leaked development footage and assets for GTA 6. Now that led to legal action and the company demanding that staff return to the office for security reasons. Though obviously, nothing is impregnable, and last week a collective called Shiny Hunters hacked Rockstar. And as flagged by Kotaku via CyberSec Guru, the group announced that they had exploited Rockstar's cloud data management service, Anodot.com, to steal data. They went on to hit Rockstar with a ransom demand, threatening that they would otherwise release the data, quote, along with several annoying digital problems that'll come your way. Quite the threat. Rockstar was obviously not impressed, and they weren't even that worried. Here's what they told Kotaku. We can confirm that a limited amount of non-material company information was accessed. This incident has no impact on our organization or our players. So they said that, but then the deadline passed, and with it passing, the information has actually been released. Though we haven't yet seen the digital problems that were threatened, so maybe the hackers think that they've identified some other vulnerabilities that could really hurt Rockstar. Who knows at this stage, but what we have got here is some commercially sensitive data, and it's bloody fascinating. There is so far nothing on GTA 6, or anything that could be harmful to developers currently at the company, or to developers who were fired and are now suing the company. But from the data we do have, we can see the sheer scale of the money-making engine that powers Rockstar. And I've got to say, GTA being a series by, a bunch of Scots that's basically taking the piss out of so many aspects of American culture, then turning into the ultimate money machine, goddamn. You can't write this shit, it really is pretty funny. Okay, let's learn about the money side. What happened is that users in the GTA forums have been passing the leaks around, and there's particular credit that's got to go to a user called Lexiture for making the tables legible. Now, these tables cover finances and performance for existing multiplayer games like GTA Online and Red Dead Online, extrapolated from a set period of time. So let's go through and let's see what we can work out. Now I'll begin with the country breakdowns. Perhaps unsurprisingly, a huge budget piss take on American life does actually resonate with markets. But what's interesting is total bookings from America are actually 6 times the value of the next largest region, which is the UK. That's good. Hey, you guys have got a sense of humor about yourselves. We like that. But it is absurd when you think about the money here. Even accounting for sheer player volume, it suggests that US players may actually be more willing to spend than international players, because you can kind of break down the sales on a per capita basis. It also suggests that Rockstar, unlike the rest of the games industry, has such a specific brand power with GTA that they actually don't need to hit international markets like China or South America to reach a critical player threshold. With GTA, its cultural penetration in like US, UK, I don't really know about the Euro side of things, but yeah, cultural penetration is basically second to none. So that's money per country, but what we can also see is how people are spending. In a lot of other analyses, we've seen that subscriptions are one of the few areas within gaming that is still growing. But what we see here is that GTA Plus membership, with all of its bonuses, only accounts for 25% of daily and weekly revenue. Now, that's not unexpected overall. Subscription spending is by definition a finite thing. It can only be bought by one person once per month. A little bit unlike, say, just buying as many shark cards as your credit card can handle. And that's something they obviously play into. If a person wants to buy the newest card in GTA Online with every patch, they can just buy as many shark cards as they would like to top up their in-game currency. The subscription revenue may be nice and consistent, but subscriptions are just not built to take advantage of whales. And this data shows us just how hard whales power live services. As it turns out, Rockstar especially. So, what does Rockstar actually make? Well, they make about 500 million in estimated annualized revenue from GTA Online. That's nearly 1.4 million every single day. And judging by the test period, that's the case more than a decade after the game came out. And amazingly, they accomplished that with only a small percentage of players even being willing to be significantly monetized. So get a load of this. 4% of GTA Online's average player base. That's the whales. So whales very much are real, and the rest of us basically just exist in live service games at their expense. They're absolutely the top percentile of live service games. They're operating at peak efficiency, which means it is the investor's dream. But of course, unless you're making gacha games or GTA, you're just really not able to be in the same ballpark as the performance that we've seen via these leaks. And where that gets kind of interesting is that the hack actually gave us information for another game, that game being Red Dead Online. Now, it has got a tenth the average player base of GTA, with less than 1 million average players a day. Tiny numbers. And they only managed to get about 15,000 of those people willing to buy things. So with pitiful numbers like that, it's no surprise that their average revenue was only 500 grand a week US. Now, for a normal studio, that would be incredible. And basically, Red Dead Online is something that we can see as being a bit closer to what a normal live service game that is a success could actually look like. That's the kind of baseline the rest of the industry has been chasing all these years. Now, I want you to think about games like Hyenas from Sega. You may have forgotten that. Or a game that actually did come out, Firebreak from Remedy. Hyenas was one of Sega's most expensive games ever. It was estimated at over 70 million USD. That bet really didn't work out. Then there's Firebreak. That was comparatively cheap. It was just 30 million euro. Now, as we know, both of those games failed, but the potential for those games to make their money back on launch with just a box price and then to functionally fund a studio with their income, if they could hit maybe near some Red Dead Online numbers, well, that potential really is quite obvious, right? I mean, even Red Dead Online, something that people broadly see as being a bit of a failure in the industry, is making $500,000 a week. So for independent titles with smaller teams, you can see how they would be able to survive on just a fraction of those numbers to be successful. And quite simply, that's the potential that has informed what I'm just going to call all of this industry gambling on live service games. But for Rockstar, Red Dead Online's annualized revenue of only 26.4 million, even years after release, is just not enough to justify ongoing content making. It just doesn't make sense. And the reason why is called opportunity cost. Yes, you could put staff on that game, you could do so profitably, but not as profitable as putting those same people onto the next GTA, a game that basically everyone agrees is both going to, and is also needed to, basically completely revitalize the console industry. For years now, console manufacturers have just been waiting on the next GTA. They basically know that a mass-market, high-appeal game like that is going to move units. And now we actually know exactly why, because we have got some platform figures, and they are incredibly useful because they show exactly how all the different console dynamics break down. We see that PS5, with 3.5 million weekly users, is nearly double the number of PS4 players. But that's still a lot of PS4 players. Now, both of those numbers are well above any of the Xbox consoles, which really does highlight the state of console competition. It's not looking good for Xbox. If you use GTA Online as your yardstick, basically, players have functionally stuck with the console they chose whenever GTA Online launched, and, well, then their friends joined them on that console. And considering the GTA 5 has been in the top 5 played games weekly on consoles literally for a decade, it's really not surprising that these figures are as goddamn huge as they are. But there is then the curious case of the personal computer. You see, less than 1 million weekly active users play in PC, and it makes a paltry $250,000 in weekly bookings. Oh, you just gotta pour one out for Rockstar. I mean, that's so little. Dear me. But what it is actually is a bit of a confusing little paradox for Rockstar, because PC proportionately contributes nothing fiscally to Rockstar's bottom line as compared to console, so it's not really surprising that there's no evidence of a PC port coming any time around the console release. So as much as they may want audiences to double dip, they do know that PC gamers are just not interested in long-term spending in the way that the console gamers are. But PC does bring something, and that thing is soft power. And that's why Rockstar are quite invested in PC. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent millions buying out the modding teams, who, by the way, were actually at a point in time banned, but the modding teams that actually power the GTA roleplay scene, which is huge in streaming. And it's huge in a way that's specifically useful to Rockstar's business, because it keeps GTA Online in players' minds even when they're not playing it. And a lot of that happens in PC. And I guess what's funny about it is, it's actually a marked difference from the rest of the industry's platform trends, which have not been great for the consoles. And it does suggest that Rockstar may actually be the last bastion of the former games industry, where GTA is a game played on consoles, but in an era where console gaming is becoming less and less relevant to the overall gaming audience. If it were any other company, you might be worried about how well GTA would sell, but obviously Rockstar's investors aren't worried. And I don't think they should be worried. I think people will buy new consoles to play this game. I think Sony themselves know that, and I think that's at least part of why they did their big round of price increases when they did earlier on in this year, because they want to maximize the amount of distance between the bad PR of the price hikes and, of course, the big system seller game that people will probably buy a PS5 for. A PS5 that now has got, another $100 or $150 onto its RRP. Back to our original question then, why is the whole games industry obsessed with live services? Why has it been like this? Well, we literally have the answer. Just look at the reaction to this leaked data. You see, Rockstar's parent company, Take-Two, saw its stock value soar to the highest it's been all month. And that's because data can do two things. It can show how valuable Rockstar is, and it can show why everyone with money keeps making the same bet. On the whole then, Rockstar was probably right not to be worried about this hack. They're really strong. The hack just reveals how goddamn strong they are. It is non-material to them. And, in fact, it just kind of makes Take-Two look like they print money by owning Rockstar. But it does now raise a flag over the company's future. Because as a product, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to make absurd amounts of money on just its box price alone. But based on reporting during the legal action from the fired developers, we do know that a multiplayer suite is being worked on. That, of course, opens up Rockstar to a whole new risk. It's one that multiple live service studios have encountered before, and that is, what do we do when we've got two versions of a similar thing? GTA 5 Online, GTA 6 Online. What do they do with that? If people have spent 13 years investing, quite literally, $10 million a week into GTA 5 Online, and then you tell those people that they should move to the next thing, or that the game that they've been playing has now been replaced, well, then things can get very messy indeed. So for Rockstar, the risk is basically, can they get people over to the new version? It's almost like, can you convert your EverQuest 1 player base into an EverQuest 2 player base? And obviously, as we know from EverQuest, they didn't exactly succeed in doing that. But that's why I remember just how long this game has been in development for. I think Rockstar are keenly aware of this problem, and I think that's why they have probably architected everything into making sure that the new GTA Online will not be an EverQuest 2, will not be a sequel that ends up not being able to recapture the hype of its original. Now we know how the money printer works. But of course, when a money printer stops working, it usually gets powered down, because it's no longer making money. But that can be a problem if, to you, that thing isn't a money printer. If it's actually a video game that you enjoy playing. And there's a group who are taking up this cause called Stop Killing Games. And I have huge news on that front. And you can find out all about it in this video next.